Hello, guys. I'm very pleased to meet you from Bratislava, from Slovakia.
Great to meet you too.
Yeah, thanks for talking to us.
Hello.
Hi.
My question is first for both of you guys, because I realized when I did my homework that the kind of story of the Chippendales, I mean the phenomenon of the Chippendales is quite famous also in our country, in Slovakia. But the story behind what is happening also in the series Welcome to Chippendales, this murder and this power hunting and the fame and the money, that is not very familiar. Our audience is not really familiar with. So I want to ask you if were you familiar with the story of Steve Banerjee and Nick DeNoia?
No, it's really not kind of well known anywhere. It's strangely everyone knows Chippendales, but they don't know that the behind the scenes story of it is so full of drama, as you said, power hunting. I think that's a very nice way to put it. And murder and arson and contracts and napkins. I certainly had no idea about any of that until I read the script.
Yeah, me either. I mean, I think that, and that's one of the things that a lot of us were intrigued by, that it's like this, it's not what you expect from this sort of world of the Chippendales that I think we all knew as this like fun sort of fantasy version of male sexuality kind of thing. It's a very, I think we all felt that this was going to take people by surprise in a great way.
So it did. Also, for me, it worked really perfectly. It was a very great surprise, and also your performances. Kumail, the question for you, because I read somewhere, I don't know if it's true, but I will ask about that, that in 2017, that was the first time when you got the offer for this role, but you declined because you were a little bit scared to play a bad guy. Is it true? And if it's true, what changed your optic in that?
Yeah, I just at that time just wanted to keep doing comedy roles. You know, I'd just gotten to do my first lead comedy role. I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to keep sort of playing in that world. I wasn't really interested in doing dramatic stuff, and then I did 5 more years of comedy and said, I think it's time to try something else. Not that I don't love comedy, but you know, I just at that point had no idea how to find my way into a character who is, as you said, a bad guy. But then, you know, when it came back to me 5 years later, I decided that I want to try and figure it out. It's a challenge that was exciting to me, and I wanted to jump in and see what happened. And
how did you find a way then, and after these 5 years? What was the approach to the acting to portray the Steve Banerjee?
I think it was obviously saying, you know, you can't play someone as a bad guy. You have to figure out. For me, it was a matter of figuring out how he sees the world, what's his morality, what's his relationship to himself, what's his relationship to other people, and then you sort of start backwards, right? So you say he's someone who feels okay, who can justify doing awful things to other people. So then what is it about his worldview? What is it about what he wants and needs that allows him to do that? Mm-hmm. So it starts off, the work for me started off sort of intellectual, creating a framework that would allow me as an actor to see the world a certain way. And then once you have that framework, then it was a matter of just emotionally navigating that framework and not really trying to think about it anymore. But initially, it starts off as sort of an intellectual exercise.
Mm-hmm. Mari, your character, Nick DeNoia, is on the screen more vivid. It's very flamboyant. I guess it's very showbizy because he was a choreographer and he was working in the showbiz. Was it for you maybe easier to play this kind of character because you are an actor and you are kind of the showbiz guy, or not really?
It's basically just me playing myself. Let's face it. No, I mean, there's a joy in that. You know, like I lived in New York for many years and went to a lot of Broadway shows, and there's a lot of like, you know, big, wonderful characters in that world. And so I had a lot of great reference points and a lot of affection for those people and those characters. So there was a lot of joy for me in playing that. So yeah, there was perhaps it was an easier way in. For me, I wonder. There was certainly a lot of joy in it.
And you have also on the screen few dance scenes. I particularly loved that one with the kitchen cloth at home. What is happening?
Yeah.
So how important is the bodywork for your acting? I mean, this kind of like dancing moves and the moves in general.
It was very important for me. as part of this character, he's a choreographer, and you know, choreographers inhabit their bodies in a very sort of unique way, I think, like dancers, but almost a little more cerebral. So they're, you know, like they're doing the moves, but they're also engaging their mind in a different way, and in a specific way. And I wanted to try and capture that. And you know, we had fantastic choreographers. And so I watched them, you know, I watched what they were doing. I like tried to, I mean, there's some direct quotes in the show that I stole from the choreographers that we were working with. I also watched that fantastic film, All That Jazz, about Bob Fosse, to sort of, because it's a, you know, a great film about a choreographer, and I watched videos of Bob Fosse actually. And other choreographers. So I think it was a sort of a key to finding that character is what is his physicality and how does he inhabit his body and how does a person like that kind of exist in the world physically. It was fun to find that and to kind of play with that.
Now maybe one little bit cheesy question, but can you imagine, guys, that you will be a dancer in the Chippendale group? Because I know that in the Chippendales there are sometimes some guest stars at minimum in America. Can you imagine that?
Not me.
Are you inviting us to do a special the Chippendale show in Slovakia? Is that what this is about?
I guess it would be sold out for sure.
If you set it up, we'll be there.
Yeah, it'll give us an excuse to visit.
Your scenes together, they are pretty intense. I mean, there is one particular which I really like. It was the 5th episode. It was the last episode which I seen because the other 3 are not available on our screener. And there was this fight in the snow in New York, which begins almost like very sweet and ended up quite disturbing. And that was something what I really would like to know how you prepare for this kind of scene, because it was very intense in a very subtle way.
I think that scene was a little bit hard to shoot. Part of it is, for me at least, I can't really prepare for that scene too much because I don't know what the physicality of it's going to be and how far we're going to be from each other and that kind of stuff. So it's just a matter of, for me, just starting in a place of joy and ending up in the place that I end up. And I think that scene's very pivotal because if things go well in that scene, I think Nick and Steve could actually get along and form a bond. But because things don't go well in that scene, I think when Steve walks away from that scene, that's the point of no return for their relationship. But shooting that scene it's sort of tricky because it's an emotional scene, but there's also a lot of technical aspects to it.
Yeah. There's a lot of choreography involved in you know, making those snowballs hit at the right time.
Right, and they're like kind of like slimy, the snowballs.
We shot it, we shot it in LA in the summer. So it was, you know, it was definitely challenging. But I think, you know, what you said, it's sort of, you know, it starts playful and ends up sort of disastrous. It's almost like a little microcosm of the whole story. You know, it sort of is encapsulated in that scene. And it does capture the tone of this relationship in a way, in that they're sort of, it's sort of revealing that they're you know, emotional maturity is like, you know, 2 kids in a playground, and that's sort of what that scene is. You know, it's like it all starts fun and then they start throwing snowballs and someone gets upset and it ends terribly. You know, like and it sort of epitomizes their relationship and how their sort of relationship to their own ambition and how that's just very childlike in a way and reactive.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
One thing what we really cannot discuss about the Steve Banerjee, what he was not missing was the determination. And I would like to know, because you also, Kumail, you came, I guess, you were 18 when you came from Karachi to America. Do you remember have this kind of determination for something in your life? I mean, not in a way like Steve Banerjee did, but...
No, I really had zero ambition or determination. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger talks about like coming here with $20 in his pocket and a dream in his heart. That was not me. I had no idea what I was going to do, no idea what my direction was. I just came to college. I had no idea what I was going to study. And then eventually I was like, I guess I need a job when I graduate. So I started studying computer science. So I definitely did not have the Steve Banerjee version of America, which is, I'm going to go there and take it over. I was like, I'm going to go there and I guess just try and stay. That was all I had.
It's valid.
Yeah.
If I can, I would like to ask last question to you, Murray, because there was this, the era is also depicting kind of like a sexual revolution and empowering of the women. I guess in the 80s you were already like young teenager. How you remember this time, and if you use kind of maybe your personal memories kind of incorporated in your acting in a series Welcome to Chippendales?
I mean, the first reference point that comes to mind, I guess, is, you know, like accidentally the Chippendales sort of rode this wave of women's empowerment and women being able to express their sexuality in a different way. And you know, my mom was one of those women, you know, and I remember her, you know, starting to wear shoulder pads and starting to sort of feel a sort of confidence in her own sort of, she was very attractive, but she'd never thought of herself as attractive, or was never sort of able to kind of lean into that. And she was also really intelligent, and she was sort of oblivious to that as well. She went to university and she realized she was like wildly intelligent, and then had an incredibly successful career from her sort of starting in her 30s and beyond. Wow. So you know, that's sort of my impression of the 80s, as well as, you know, excess and like, you know, pretty sort of, let's face it, quite ugly clothes. I mean, it's a great period to dip back into.
Yeah, but living it must have been a chore.
But it was an incredible period of change, particularly for women, which I was very aware. I have a great relationship with my mother and a great admiration for how she kind of went with that wave and really kind of transformed, really. So, I mean, it doesn't relate to me in terms of my character particularly, but it certainly informed my sort of understanding of the world and what was going on at the time. And its relationship
Thank
to the
you very much,
Chippendales,
guys.
I guess. Yeah.
Thank you.
you.
It was a pleasure to see you. So bye, and have a nice interviews with the others.
And
Thank
get on that Chippendales thing in Slovakia for us.
But only if you come in the 80s costume.
Yeah,
Sure.
Good.
it's on.
Done. Deal. Ciao.
Okay.